Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the Gridiron Hour After Hours, the podcast where we can talk about sports and give you life's lessons while we do it. Well, today we're going to go outside of sports, and this is a life lesson that everybody needs to learn. Just because you see things on TikTok doesn't mean you have to go out and do it.
Yeah, like the crate challenge or whatever they call it.
The milk crate challenge, which means, folks, you have to build that thing into a rickety-looking pyramid. Go up one side. Hopefully, you don't bust your dang ass and go down the other side.
Or die.
So far, one person has succeeded, but he upped the ante. He did it while smoking a blunt. Yeah, you heard me right, folks. He went up one side, lit up a doobie, and came down the other side.
Hold on, he did what?
A dude named White Mike went up one side, lit up a joint after he rolled it, of course, and came down the other side unscathed.
Oh my God, what a dope.
Yeah. When they say don't try things like that at home, that's exactly what they mean.
That's what they mean.
Doing things on TikTok can get you hurt or worse, kill you.
Yeah, things want to hurt.
There's so many things that you should not be doing.
From that stupid milk crate challenge, one is dead, from what I heard.
Yeah, and which is the reason why TikTok expanded off its media, social media app.
Dang.
Don't do things like this, folks. There's a reason why it's stupid in the first place. And in football related news right now, Tennessee Titans head coach Mike Vrabel is on COVID-19. He's quarantined for the next 2 weeks.
8 or 9 other players. Actually, with a couple of, I think, 1 or 2 other coaches.
Yeah.
And I think 5 or 6 players.
And I think the Titans have not been feeling this way, not since their longtime former general manager Floyd Reese had passed away last week at the age of 73. And it wasn't COVID related, it was cancer. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Floyd Reese is one of the winningest general managers in the NFL history. In the years with the Titans and Oilers organization, they've been to the playoffs since they were the Oilers, then became the Titans, a whopping over 20 plus times. Won the championships actually starting in the 60s up until when they became the Titans.
But wow, that. I mean, I heard that it was for the Tampa game. And so far, the Titans defense looked pretty good. But they're going to get a test with Justin Fields tomorrow night. As it looks like he will be starting.
Yep.
Tomorrow. But Andy Dalton will be the opening week 1 starter when they travel to SoFi and play Los Angeles.
Yep.
To open up the season.
Now they're opening up the season at home against the Cardinals.
No, the Titans open up the season, but the Bears go to LA to open up the season.
They're playing against Arizona on September the 12th. Their season starts at home.
Well, the Titans season starts at home, yes. But the Bears have to do the cross-country thing.
Yep.
And for the Bears, what the team they got right now,
And a word through the grapevine is that one Mid-South football team isn't playing tonight because their school was on lockdown as of yesterday. A school in Davidson County, a student came down from COVID, and the school shut down. Folks, this is a life lesson. For those of you so-called anti-vaxxers and anti-mask people and still believe that the COVID-19 is like a hoax,
this is no joke.
this is real. We already lost 600,000 people so far. How more does it will take you to realize that they're dead for you to get the vaccine and wear a mask? For crying out loud, this is no no joke. As of right now, a hospital in Florida is refusing to see anti-vax patients because they weren't vaccinated. And rightfully so, because if they come in and they had COVID, they're going to give it to somebody who's sick in that hospital. The doctors cannot take that chance.
And a lot of the hospitals are now making waiting rooms, different places in the hospital, just for people that have COVID to get a place to have a bed.
Yeah.
Folks.
This is no joke, and we're not joking. There's a reason why we're vaccinated, for a reason, so we don't end up in the hospital. So we don't end up on the obituary somewhere because of that. And for those of you who think this is a joke, shame on you. And I'm sorry to say that a couple of my friends who I went to school with, I will not out them on this podcast due to the respect that I know them. But I want to act like I don't know them because they don't want to get vaccinated. A vaccination saves lives. It's no joke. You can keep on doing modern age medicine if you want to, but modern age medicine ain't nothing without scientific know-how. And it's backed up by medical facts, folks. Nobody can make this stuff up. Nobody can make this stuff up if you try. Because even athletes have to get vaccinated, and this is their livelihood and their jobs. Now, folks, a few teams are playing tonight. It's almost down the wire, and the season almost here for the NFL, which means more cuts.
College football plays tomorrow. 2 games tomorrow. I think there's a few games on Sunday. I think this week. That's a whole bunch of them starting next Friday.
And right now, there is a CFL football game in progress.
And I wonder what that game is, if I may ask.
Okay, it's the Hamilton Tiger Cats versus the Montreal Alouettes. Now remember that Hamilton Tiger Cats are without Bishop Sankey and Kendall Wright for obvious reasons. Bishop Sankey had retired, good for him, and Kendall Wright got himself suspended for violating a drug policy. Yep. He was caught using PEDs even in the CFL. And they suspended him. Oh, and there's a name we nobody ain't heard. Myron Rolle. No, not Myron Rolle. Trail Roll. No relation to Samari Roll. Yeah, he's in the CFL and he's playing for Hamilton. And it's already in the fourth quarter, and this game is almost over. It's 20 seconds left, and Hamilton is leading by 17 points.
Wow.
Montreal cannot come back for this, and Hamilton's sitting on it. They took a delay of game penalty. They went from being first and 7 to second and 12.
Keep in mind.
And the game is over.
100-yard field. Yes. The field keeps going up instead of down.
And the New Orleans Saints named Jameis Winston their starting QB tonight.
Oh, Lord, here comes interceptions.
In week 1. And remember, this is going to be Jameis Winston's first time as a starter since 2019.
Jameis Winston starter in New Orleans. Teddy Bridgewater beats Drew Lock for the starting job in Denver.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield didn't play in the first 2 preseason games, so he's going to be playing in tomorrow night's preseason finale.
He's out for the season. Trevor Lawrence will be the opening day starter. And New England came with this back after a misunderstanding with his protocol.
Yep.
So, a lot of things as we head into the final week of the final weekend of the season that are still up in the air to be determined.
Right now, the Titans they're in Chicago. They're in Chicago right now. They got to play the Bears. The Bears. Now the Titans are on a roll. They won 2 preseason games so far.
But keep in mind, all preseason means is glorified scrimmage.
Yeah. And then basically the preseason wins don't count for squat.
The games that really count are in 2 weeks from Sunday.
Yep.
And less than a week from yesterday. 2 weeks from yesterday. The Dallas Cowgirls and the Tampa Bay Crabbees. Hell yeah. Will Dak be playing? I don't know.
Maybe yes, maybe no. They're going to see how his leg holds him up. Mm-hmm. But like I said, folks, there's reasons why this is in place. Oh, and a viewer agrees with us. Felipe de Toledo, thank you so much. He agreed with what we said. And also, on top of that, folks, no matter who you are or what you are, you're still a person at the end of the day. Now, this is going to. Now, I've been reading all over the blogosphere, and see and hear.
Thoughts on the Patriots and Rams duel in the weekend.
Oh.
Patriots trading the Army Ouch running back Sony Michel.
Oh boy.
I think what I saw was a 5th and a 6th, but it could turn out to be a compensatory 4th.
Jeez.
Depending on if the Rams get a that will be compensatory bench.
Yep.
I like the move. I don't like the move for the Rams. I love them for the Patriots though, because they already got 3 good running backs already as is. So yeah, Cleveland I think is just fine.
Now, folks, if you have social media like we do, and 9 times out of 10, I have found out that it looks like Isaiah McKenzie. He was playing for the Buffalo Bills. But apparently there was a letter that was sent to him yesterday for what he did Wednesday. And the letter reads as follows. Dear Isaiah, on August 25th, on Twitter, yes. I got it, and I'm reading it. I actually follow the NFL on Twitter. And here's the letter in its entirety. It says, Dear Isaiah, on August 25th, 2001, at approximately 2:15 p.m., while walking through the indoor field house into the training room, you failed to wear a mask. Then at approximately 4:35 p.m. on the exact same day, for several minutes, you again failed to wear a mask in the meeting area of the weight room while gathered near other players after the offensive meeting. Your refusal to wear a mask occurred after you were informed that it was required for unvaccinated players as set forth in your 2021 club discipline schedule and as recreated by signage throughout the club facility stating that unvaccinated players must be subject to fines and discipline for failing to wear a mask. Your refusal to wear a mask also occurred shortly after league staff gave up gave a presentation on August 25th regarding the NFL Players Association COVID-19 protocols, including the mask wearing requirement, and the unvaccinated players are subject to fines and discipline for refusal to wear a mask. In addition, by the letter dated back on July 27th of this year, you received a written warning for refusing to wear a mask and were specifically advised that future violations of protocols will result in increased discipline, including the conduct detrimental. Still, as noted above, you again refuse to wear a mask in the facility. For players who are not fully vaccinated against COVID, like you, your conduct is expressly prohibited by protocol. Again, your conduct potentially compromise not only your safety, but also the safety of others, as well as the league's ability to ensure that your club's training camp is conducted in a safe manner. The protocols provided that the NFL may impose discipline on any player who engages in conduct listed in Appendix A of protocols for the first offense and up to a maximum amount specified for each type conducted.
And they obviously got fined for that as well, because I think he was in, what was it? I think he was in contact tracing, if my memory's right.
Yeah.
So Cole Beasley is in a little bit of trouble.
Yep. Aaron Rodgers talked to Pro Football Talk yesterday. He said he tells reporters he's vaccinated, however, he won't judge his teammates who aren't. Folks, the rules are there for a reason.
Yep. They're there for a reason. Folks, you got to follow the rules, otherwise you can't follow the rules. Guess what? Yeah. How many times do you have to keep repeating this? The rules are in place for a reason, and if you're not willing to follow them, guess what? You don't play. That's how this works.
And furthermore, you don't play, you don't have a spot.
And by the way, if you don't play, you're gonna get paid. And the team has everybody to good you, no questions asked.
Yeah.
And I believe that our team.
If you don't believe us, let's take a little rewind back to the start of last year's season. When the Las Vegas Raiders decided they wanted to buck the system, refused to do social distancing, refused to wear the mask. John Gruden even applied this. And you know what happened to them? They got completely fined out the wazoo.
Do you remember all of last year Tom Brady had a problem with his MCL and the Bucs refused to put him on the injured list? They refused to report him.
Yep.
I can see the Bucs getting fined and losing draft picks because of that. Because if the rule states, no matter what the injury is, you have to have it on the injury report.
Yep.
And the Bucs failed to comply with that. So I could see Roger Goodell and the NFL folks in the office finding the Bucs out the yin yang and a loss of draft picks for two.
Yeah. If many people haven't learned from the Raiders, they lost a couple of draft picks in this year's draft because of what they did last year.
Yeah.
Folks, the rules are not made to be a joke. These rules are in place for a reason. The COVID protocols are there for a reason, to ensure that one, you stay healthy, two, your teammates stay healthy, three, you stay protected and covered and your base is covered, and four, you don't lose money, you don't lose pay. Because by doing things like that, by not wearing a mask, going to the infield house, going to the training facility, don't wear a mask. The only time you're not allowed to wear a mask is when you're on the field in practice. On the sideline, you got no choice but to wear a mask. Goodell is watching. You can lose money. You'll be fined for that. You'll be fined. You'll be suspended. And furthermore, your team will lose another potential draft, and you will lose a job.
Yeah, that's not the size of it. But apparently that's what these players want.
Got everybody who's from an athlete to a regular Joe. Everybody here knows the mask saves lives. For God's sakes, just put the mask on. Get the shots. Get the social distancing. Even if you are at work, you still have no other option because other people are not vaccinated. Do your part.
Like, folks, we don't ask for much, okay? We don't ask for a lot. All we ask is that you follow what's in place so you can have your job, so you can get back to your livelihoods. Yeah, I know it sucks.
But we still got to do this. And everybody has to do their part. So I did my part. I'm vaccinated and I'm still wearing a mask. Because when I go to work, I have to. Because there's many of my co-workers and customers who don't.
I don't look. I get a mask every year. I go to get my shots. I still got to wear one because, hey, I don't know if people have been mad that I've been vaccinated or not. And if I go in here on Friday, I'll wear a mask like in the post box. And then when I put the mask back on,
And if I say it once, I will say this again to any anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers who are listening. Shame on you. You think this is a joke? Ask the family of the 613,000 people who have died because of COVID, because they refused to not listen to medical advice, what the scientists say.
I heard from yesterday when this is the way that this is going. The case is rising back up again. There could be more deaths from now on the 1st of December.
Yeah. And the way I see it now, the state of Alabama is in first place leading with the most COVID cases ever because they don't want to wear a mask. And the state representative herself said this, and she quote, "You don't have nobody to blame, but all you anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, you can blame yourselves." Because instead of taking the advice of a medical scientist and a doctor, you listen to a goon who don't know nothing. You listen to a bunch of conspiracy theorists and nut jobs. And you know what that got you? You either are laying in a hospital on a ventilator in the ICU, clinging to life, or you're 6 feet in the ground because you refuse not to listen.
Because you acted stupid.
You got nobody to blame but yourself. Do your part. If not for yourself, but for your people who love you, for the people who care about you.
And what's important, for people that depend on you. If not for yourself, do it for them.
And folks, if you're vaccinated, good. If you're not vaccinated, get vaccinated. And if you got it, you got to follow the quarantine rules and stay away for at least 2 weeks. That's 14 days. Do your part.
That's all we ask. We don't ask for much. Thank you.
Nothing more, nothing less.
No, we don't ask for a lot. And speaking of more and less, how are things in the end of the NFL coming along, and how are things in the nightmares coming as we roll towards 2022?
I have already talked to my quarterback. She's doing a little bit better. She's still doing the quarantine protocol. as prescribed. I had talked to one of my other managers. He is actually had to be there in Kansas City for his son. His son, who plays football in Kansas City for the Kansas City high school football team, he's got COVID and he's in the ICU right now. Yeah. It's not just men and women who get it. Yes, folks, kids get it too. If you don't listen, if you don't take our word for it, and you don't listen, ladies and gentlemen, the kids are the future. We got to protect them at all costs. No matter what you say or what you do. A kid has to count on their parents. But it looks like Cole Beasley, Vern Buffer, they're off the virus list. And he tested negative. So he's back on the roster, but his job is on the line. And 9 times out of 10, folks, it's not just football players and basketball players, even hockey players or MMA fighters, soccer players, rugby players, lacrosse players, everybody, even regular Joes like you have to do your part. It's not a joke. It's never a joke. And I'm telling you right now, folks, like I said, like the way things are right now, with no solution in sight, you might be wearing these masks again until everybody does their part. And for your anti-vaxxers, you're going to find out one way or another why things like this is in place. And I hate to tell you this, because when things like that are in place, everybody's still got to do their job. Everybody. And I don't care if you are a football player, a commentator, a reporter. Things like this for a reason is why leagues have rules like this in the first place. To keep everybody's back, to keep all bases covered, keep everybody protected, and to make sure nothing like that will ever happen again. And right now, Pittsburgh is getting blown out of the water by Carolina. It's 34-9. 34-9 in favor of Carolina. The Eagles are ahead by 1 with 2:48 left in the fourth. Joe Flacco is doing his job, which is better than it was when he was in Chicago. The Chiefs is ahead by 18 points. But it looks like Minnesota might come back. They got 8.5 minutes to do it.
Yeah, they may have changed it. I don't know if they're going to pull off or not. Let's see if they can find this game real quick. That's the last game of the night. So it's tomorrow.
Yep. Like I said, folks, rules is made for everybody's safety. You just cannot, and I'm going to repeat this until I'm blue in the face. You cannot say, I'm not going to wear a mask, I'm not going to get vaccinated, It's fake. And you want to know who's trying to say that something now? The people who think it was fake, they're saying it. They can't say it now. They're sitting in the intensive care unit because they said it. It is ridiculous. And the Red Sox don't put two of their players on the COVID-19 list because they came in close contact with each other. And like I said, it's not just the sports. Rules are made to be followed in life as well. And for my hometown, I have to say this. Y'all made me be ashamed to be a Franklinite. I was born and raised here. Yeah, for what y'all did, y'all made me be ashamed of being from here. By heckling and threatening doctors? You gotta be kidding me. It was so bad that we wound up being talked about by President Biden on the 6 o'clock news. Because of the temporary mask mandate. Guys, just because you're religious, it doesn't give you an exemption to not wear a mask. There's no such thing.
Dallas restructured Zeke Elliott's contract, by the way. Zeke Elliott's contract got restructured for tax rates. Here's a suggestion for you. Why did you give him that cap? Why did you give him that contract in the first place?
Sure.
Because right now, he ain't playing like he deserves that contract. Sorry.
Nope.
He is playing like he's fat, happy, and lazy.
Y'all, the rules are in place, and especially if it's the preseason. Here's this: if you don't do your job, they'll get you out, and somebody's going to do the job for you. They're going to do a better job. And folks, like I said, just because, like we said before, at the very top of the hour, talking about stupid things you shouldn't be doing off of TikTok, like the milk crate challenge being one of them. We said it once, we said it again. Don't do stupid things like that because it can get you hurt or worse, killed. Many people have did this and filmed themselves doing it, and many people film themselves getting hurt by landing on the milk crates and the milk crates exploding under their weight. And folks, we do not want to see that stuff on TikTok. Nobody wants to see you falling flat on your back or on your face, trying to walk on top one side of the milk crate to walk down the other side. It's dumb. That's why it's a dumb challenge in the first place. Just don't do it. Common sense, folks. Common sense. You need to have it. Because without common sense, you're just a few apples short of a bunch. I'm sorry. And many people, and here's something very stupid, folks. And like I said in many podcasts before, dirty talking and trying to assault somebody, it's not going to hurt their feelings. No. It's just going to make them wail on you. If you don't believe me, if you on YouTube right now, look up the Claressa Shields fight. It's 2 fights that she was in. Her last one of her boxing career and the very first one of her MMA career. And you wonder why they call her the T-Rex in the first place. She will wreck you if you try to insult her. Somebody tried to insult her saying that she's fat by saying, "You want some ice cream? I know you're hungry." Insults like that will get your feelings hurt and will get you hurt, period. Just don't do it. But like we said before, rules is for everybody, especially if you're a boxer. Especially if you're a boxer, you don't want to end up like a person with a very tarnished reputation for a stupid mistake you did that cost somebody their career and their livelihood, as well as their life. I'm talking about the 1984 boxing match between Billy the Irishman Collins Jr. and Luis Risto, a 10-round middleweight non-card fight in Madison Square Garden.
And I hope when they get to the regular season, they don't black out the audio broadcast. That would be so awesome.
No, I hope not. But like I said, this fight took place in Madison Square Garden. Back then, the promoter for Luis Risto is the name of Panama Lewis. And with a name like that, is a wonder why he's stupid. So, apparently, there was a bet against Risto to lose the fight against Collins. The fight was for Collins to win. The bet was on Collins to win. But Risto, he had a chunk of that money in there. He don't want to lose against a guy who has never lost. So, something had happened between him preparing and that fight. Because when that fight got in there, Billy Collins was black, blue, and his body was swollen. Like he got hit with cinder blocks. His father threw in the towel and called it quits, but when he went to shake Risto's hand, he felt Risto's glove and his hand was heavy. He just caught Luis Risto cheating in the match against his son, Billy Collins Jr. The boxing commission did not know that Risto's gloves had no padding in it.
What is that?
Luis Risto was actually sponsored by the Everlast company. He was sponsored by the Everlast company, the company that makes his boxing gloves. Before the match, and he knew about this and didn't say anything, but his manager took the padding out of his gloves, encased his hair wraps in plaster of Paris, then wrapped them around his wrists. Wrapped them around his hands and put the gloves on his hands. It's like his hands are encased in concrete. Billy Collins was hit with a whopping 450 punches. And he was hit so hard and so bad, he was blind in his left eye. He had a broken eye socket and he couldn't see. And at the age of 22, he abruptly retired. And since he couldn't give his boxing livelihood back, he got drunk and he made a mistake. Getting behind the wheel while you're drunk is the worst thing you can ever do. Because what he did is when he got behind the wheel, he crashed into a concrete divider here in Antioch, Tennessee, and died.
Is in there now. After a hole, under 8 minutes to go. And then Sonny Michelle looking for Dalton Schultz, tried to hit him on a flat, on a little corner pattern to the right side, and they just dropped him. Shane Michelle's got to be able to put a little more touch on that thing, into a fastball. And as you look at it, Josh, he was late with the throw.
Yep.
His throw was about at least a good 2 seconds late. Second and 20 from the 19.
And also, like I said about Billy Collins, he lost his life way too soon at the age of 22. Now, in 1984, in 1984, there was an inquiry, and Panama Lewis and Louis Risto were both found guilty for manslaughter and assault and battery with deadly weapon.
How did they get 19 yards? What the heck? Third down and 11. For Shane Buechele on the 28. 7-17. Chiefs lead 28-18. Starting Buechele. Shane Buechele. Caught. Orton makes the catch. Nice throw by Buechele. His best throw of the day. It was a little bit of a change-up, but it was straight there. Nicely done. That's how you fire it in there. Don't wait to have a baby, just chuck it in there. Much better throw.
Yeah, excuse my partner. He's watching the preseason game right now.
That was a grown man throw. That wasn't no cheese kid throw. Darwin Thompson coming off the right side, and he get about 3. Phillips is there to play for the fourth quarter.
And like I said before, folks, Lewis and Risto have been found guilty of manslaughter and not second-degree murder, and they got themselves 2.5 years in prison in 1984. They were released back in 1980, the early part of 1987. But because of this, Luis Risto was banned from boxing for life. Because of it.
Yeah. That was the ball run with the tight end flashing in the flat. Good throw that time by Shane Buechele. And a good job of the tight end to present it to flashing numbers in front of him. Or he can find him on an easy quick route. Up by about 6 or 7 yards. Simple stuff. Simple stuff. To where it's coming from.
Yeah.
You're going to get to catch it. To put under it.
Yep. Well, also, like I said, folks.
I mean, look, how many times do you see quarterbacks when you watch QBs either put it to where a receiver can get it, or he puts it he or she puts it in a spot where the receiver has no chance to get it, and the defense to the back is the only one there to get it. That basically comes down to basic fundamental stuff. That's basic fundamental stuff. Am I right? I mean, with you as an offensive lineman, you got to see what the quarterback's doing too.
Yep.
So you don't jump.
Yep. That's why, folks.
You guys, as we talk about quite often, you guys are basically the first and only line that the quarterback has.
That's why the first thing on rules is know your job, know your role. But like I was saying earlier, because if you don't, you're going to wind up like Luis Risto. And you know who he is? He's a guy who thought that he could cheat to win a match and win a big load of money. All he did was cost him his reputation. He's now a boxing trainer.
Because the center came right through, because the Baka came right through the middle where the center would normally pick up. And there had been a TE twist. Here comes challenge with one. Yeah. Offside. Better. Better. Very catch 11-yard line. What's the flag? No. The 15,
All
so
right.
he's doing his job. They played the field game very well. Chiefs 28, 18.
Yep. And basically, like I said, just like in football, there are rules everywhere, and that's for your protection and safety. Or like I said about Luis Risto, you could be no longer a boxer because of the decisions you made that tarnish your reputation. He lost his reputation as a boxer when he decided to let his trainer dip his hair wrap
every time on this podcast.
and had a hand wraps wrapped up in plaster in Paris wrapped around his hands. So when the autopsy report said he felt like he got hit with 450 rocks, that's what it felt like on Risto's hands, because his hands was encased in hand wraps that was encased in plaster of Paris under his gloves because his trainer took the padding out of his gloves. And in 2017, there is a documentary with HBO. If you watch it, he had admitted it on camera to a documenter who was documenting him that, yeah, I knew what my trainer did. I should have at some point said this was wrong. I want to beat this man fair and square. I don't want to cheat. But at the time, he himself was there, so yeah, why not? Let's do it. He didn't realize it cost this man his career and it cost him his life. Collins's former wife not only was suing him, she was suing his trainer and the New York Boxing Commission for failing to do. She was suing the New York Boxing Commission for failing to protect her late ex-husband. They did not protect this man. And in 2017, 4 years ago, he admitted it on camera that he knew his trainer had removed the padding out of his gloves. Everlast dropped him. They dropped him as a client. This is what we mean doing stupid things like this.
The kid from Texas A&M, the left-hander.
Yeah, and this is why mistakes like this happen. Things like
this terrible pass. That 10 seconds for station identification. Another garbage throw from Telemann. Straight trash. I mean, that throw couldn't even be dug out of the dirt. That was a route and our casting touchdowns.
And like I said before, folks, and I'll probably say this again until I'm blue in the face.
But by the way, you got to get down to your best 53 by 3 o'clock Tuesday. 20-25-30. That's the least made all night.
Like I said before, folks.
Much better throw, Kellen Mond. Much better.
Like we said before, folks, there's rules like this for a reason. What you do, it reflects on it reflects on you. Right now, Luis Risto is a 67-year-old disgraced boxer because of a decision that he made while in the 80s, in his 20s, that cost another man his boxing career and also cost him his life. Risto also came all the way to Nashville to apologize to Billy Collins' widow. By saying, I'm sorry for what I did to your husband. She forgave him. But as of now, she's made a federal case against the New York State Boxing Commission. Because back in the 80s, they failed to protect Billy Collins from him getting hurt like he did. Because he felt like he did get hit. Huh?
Collins actually missed that terrible passes in his last 4 passes. He just ran out of the pocket.
Oh boy. That comeback is down dead in the water.
One timeout though.
Like I said, yeah. And like we said, folks, things like that. We do talk a lot about sports, but we also talk about things in life in general. Even when things in life in general, it also pertains to athletes and sports. Like I was trying to say about Luis Risto and the big mistake that cost one boxer. They cost 2 boxers everything. It cost one boxer his livelihood, and it cost another one his reputation. So right now, Luis Risto is a boxing promoter. He's not allowed to be in the boxing ring no more. He's got a lifetime ban against him. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google the name Luis Risto, and then Google the name Billy Collins Jr. Then you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the infamous boxing match that cost Billy Collins his career. Because like I said before, and this was backed up by Risto's words and the words of the medical examiner, it felt that Billy Collins during his boxing career felt like he got hit with 450 rocks. Not only did Everlast drop Luis Risto as a spokesman for their company. Yeah. Billy Collins will try to sue Everlast, but Everlast was nowhere in fault. They were nowhere in fault. Because they had no idea that Risto's trainer was going to take the padding out of their gloves and put it on his plaster-encased hands and hit him 450 times in the face and torso. That kind of physical pain is something you can never come back from. And Billy Collins, he's been dead since he was 22. In 1984, he's been dead for over 37 years. 37 years. And it's a wonder. And it's a wonder that why Andrea Collins-Nile now forgives Luis Risto. Because Luis Risto's been living with this guilt for over 30 years. And as he should. So now the words that Luis Risto used are not going to come back and haunt him. Yep. But here's another thing, folks. This little podcast is brought to you by myself and myself alone, and no reflects the NWFL or the EACL. Now, here's the thing. We can go on and on about sports at Life Outsiders, and we could. Because sports and life, it does go hand in hand. There's rules you gotta follow in sports and in life. And you gotta do your part to follow those rules.
Speaking of, as we start working on looking at the rosters, hockey, Portland 2, tipped, and it's Smith March 2nd. Thanks to the catch, and it's golden goal. Nearly a minute 40 to go. Who makes the stop? Smith March 6th for Washington Husky. And Minnesota with a goal to go. Tie. Flag. Oh, pass interference on the corner. No, it is not. And I'm afraid he might have just cost himself a roster spot. I think there's some pass interference down here at about the 2.
Oh boy. Yep.
Minnesota can't
Mm-hmm.
And it's a minute 28. And if they score here, if you're Minnesota, do you go for two or do you take the one an onside kick? Well, either way, get an onside kick. Or do you just kick it away and hope your defense gets you another stop? And get you a chance to tie or win.
If I was Minnesota,
we'll see. And it's a touchdown, Minnesota. It's 28-24. Smith Marset with a touchdown.
Yep.
Greg Joseph trying to bring it within a field goal. 1:24 to go with one timeout. Minnesota trying to make this game very interesting.
Yeah. Is it okay if I pull you away from that game for just this moment? Now, folks, if like this, it's like this. The way he's talking about the game and the rules, it doesn't look. It sounds like life too. And especially if it don't matter if you are on the gridiron, the square circle, or the octagon cage. So basically, right now, not many people don't know about the PFL, which is.
So, if Minnesota can find a way to tie this game, no extra time, which means the 15-yard zone will return to me. You can only put 9 in that zone this year. You can't do 10. You can only do 9 this year.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be an interesting
game. Like I said about the rules.
Yeah.
There's one rule in the NFL that nobody saw this coming.
Was talking about was in the 15-yard kick zone where they normally would have 10 guys blocking. They can only have 9.
I'm talking about there's no longer going to be no timeouts in overtime. Timeouts in overtime.
But 10 is a yard. Now a yard. So now there it is. T-shirt jump.
Yep.
It was like the baseball equivalent of a pop.
Oh boy. Here we go.
That was the onside kick from like the baseball equivalent of a high major league pop.
Yeah.
More like a duck sword. And when the line drive, there was a flat duck sword.
So here, like we said before, in sports and in life, we all got to do our part. Because if not only will you not have a job, it can cost you your reputation and your livelihood. And basically, like I said about Luis Risto, one bad decision cost him his career. It cost him his entire career as a boxer because of one decision that he made, and they got him charged for manslaughter. And in no way, shape, or form is it okay to butt the rules to make it see fit for you. Rules are rules. You got to either follow them or you can go somewhere else. It's the way I see it, and that's the way it is. The rules is there for a reason and for one reason. To protect your tail, to keep the owners, the coaches, and the leagues from being liabilities. And for you, not to be a fool. So don't be a prick. Don't be a jerk. Don't be an a-hole. Just do your job. Do it right the first time. And then everything will be just fine. But like I also said, rules is for everybody. Even if you are a mixed martial artist in the PFL, and that's set for Pro Fighters League, and that's who Clarissa Shields fights in. So basically, right now, they're fighting for $6 million in cash. And with that kind of cash, you gotta have to make some smart investments. He'll be playing in his first game against another team in 2 weeks. And also, if the thing is, if you do your job, like I said before, do your job right the first time, there won't be no problems. You keep screwing up, you won't have a job, you won't have a future, you won't even have a way to provide for your family. So don't mess it up. We've been telling you this time and time again, folks. We've been saying this on every time we do this podcast. It bears to mind. Do your job, do it right. Play by the rules, play fair, and you both will win. You decide you want to cheat, it just makes you dirty. And no offense, I'd rather play and lose honestly than cheat and win dirty. Because I'd rather not be labeled a dirty player. Thanks, but no thanks. Because that's what got Brian Urlacher labeled as a dirty player. And also what Brian Urlacher said got him disassociated with the Chicago Bears, disassociated with the New Mexico State Lobos, and disassociated out of the Hall of Fame. And the Colts beat the Lions by 10. Final 27-17. Beat Detroit by 10. And like I said, before we wrap this show up pretty quick, I'm gonna say this again. Please wear a mask, practice social distancing, get vaccinated, wash your hands often. Because if you don't, you're gonna wind up in the hospital. And the reason why I say that because my mother is in the hospital right now, and not because of COVID. Because, like I said, family is family. You only get one parent. You can get, there's a lot of things you can get. But one thing you can't get is another life. You only get one. How you do it and what you do with that life, it's up for you. And also, like I said, it goes back to what I said. Right now, the University of Louisville head coach Chris Mack has been suspended for 6 games for not following the guidelines while being extorted. Bob Higgins, who was 67 years old, for Western Virginia University, got a 2-year contract extension. This is his 40th year as head coach. Folks, properly, you can make big bucks, and dirty, you lose everything. Don't do it. It's not worth the effort, and it's not worth the risk, and it's not worth your reputation. And I'm telling you this now. All they did was lose everything. Look, do you got anything to say before we wrap this up? Or, yo, Luther. I guess he slipped away. So I'm going to say this. Folks, being an athlete and being an actual person, and you are who you are. Just do your job right and do it well. Otherwise, you wind up with no prospects in life. It's like all the podcasts I did before that, and when I say it once, I'll say it again. For a reason, it happens. Don't be an idiot. And don't do stupid things. Because doing stupid things is going to get you in trouble. Especially if you're young as 18 and you did something really, really stupid that you can't take back. And you know what I'm talking. If you want to know what I'm talking about, stay tuned next week and bring you more about that later on. So until then, we'll see you next time. Nightmares. We're after